Worth and rock beyond seek. Lava beyond seek. Lava beyond seek.
Over your head. Futile.
Lava beyond seek.
Never you mind that miss. I'll land the next one.
Boy, right on target. Aye, aye.
It's even scarier than in my dreams. The machine controlling the storm winds down. The clattering of its machinery settles into a low whir and then, at last, hiccups to a halt. Beyond the tower, the black, roiling clouds of Andra's mortar roll away from the ancient city of Ukaizo, with only a tired sigh of wind to see them off. And on that last breath of wind, comes to you a familiar sound. The ring of a bell. The bell's ringing is soft, not the clangor and torrent you've grown used to. It calls to your soul, and your soul yearns to follow it. Your soul flees from your body and into the beyond, chasing that sound. It leads you at last to Bareth's realm, to that cold platform and room of endless doors.
Watcher, your journey nears its conclusion.
The pallid night stands before you, her gaunt face impassive.
You rush headlong toward the end. Do you ever pause to consider where it is you are headed? Soon you will confront Aethys for what will likely be the final time. And you will do so as the Herald of Bareth, the only creature on the face of Aora to whom he will listen. Remember that.
The pallid night inclines her head to you, black hair hanging lank in her face. She steps back and cedes the floor to Helia with a small, resigned sigh.
If Aethys truly intends to go through with his mad plan to destroy the wheel, a generation's worth of souls will be trapped in the in-between. So many would suffer. How can Aethys be so cruel? He cannot just abandon them. Aethys must help the Kith find a quick solution.
Abaddon strides forward.
Aethys thrust this crisis on the Kith. They did not bring it upon themselves. Their only mistake was entrusting us to watch over them. Who will help them rebuild their world now?
Aethys will reveal every secret of the gods. Will Kith be able to change the established order if they have no wonder to inspire them? Aethys must help them resolve this quickly. lest every one of Eora's few remaining mysteries be laid plain.
With the wheel destroyed, Kith will tear themselves apart. It is the gods' duty to prevent that happening, lest they doom us all. And as Kith must be ruled, so too must the gods. I say that if Aethys is so eager to throw down the mantle of power and step aside, I shall take my rightful place as Queen of the Gods again.
Kith are strongest when they follow our lead, and we are strongest when we lead in turn. United in purpose with the gods, Kith can accomplish things that without us, they could never have even begun. They must be shown their boundaries to surpass them.
Kith will not solve Aethys' puzzle on their own. And without an established order to fight against, the bonds that bind them dissolve, and they fight amongst themselves.
Boudica's firm hand is but the motherly smothering of Helia by another name. Mortals should have no special advantages. Only once Kith have striven to improve themselves through trial will they truly know their measure. Kith must suffer to find their strength if they are to survive the world into which Aethys drags them. Our intervention in your struggle would be a cruelty and counter to our purpose.
He lets his words hang in the air for a moment. Gaze, level with your own.
Indeed. Kith must discover for themselves what it is they are worth, and of what it is they are capable. What we do for them, they do not learn for themselves. Trial breeds ingenuity. If our work of generations was not in vain, Kith will succeed in spite of Aethys' actions. I have faith in Kith's ability to meet Aethys' challenge. Do not mistake my words for indifference, Watcher. They are born from a fierce belief in your potential, not a refutation of it.
And yet you come to Ukaizo with only the Principe at your back. All that Kith stand to lose, and even then your leaders could not join hands, squabbling instead over prestige and resources. You believe that will change when my final death comes calling? You are a greater fool than I thought. Margaret is blinded by her affection for mortals. She does not see that entropy is the destiny of all things. If Aethys were wise, he would destroy everything. End life, end reincarnation, end death. Kith have had their chance. It is time to let silence reign.
As Rimergon's words fade, the Pallid Night returns. She no longer towers over you, a giant even among the gods, but meets you at your height. She lets the arms crossed over her chest fall to her sides. She speaks to you openly, plainly, an expression almost like tenderness, turning up the corners of her lips.
Well, Watcher, you know where we stand. What do you believe? I only suggest that you walk into this future with eyes wide, Watcher. The mantle of responsibility is a heavy one, broad though Kith's shoulders may be. Now the time has come for us to part, Watcher. I laid upon you a difficult duty, and you have discharged it well. You will be free of it in time, but not now. You have work to do yet. You are no stranger to hard choices. You killed Theos, and when his soul was laid bare before you, you chose to destroy it. You granted him peace. Remember the strength it took to make that choice, and know that you alone may sway Aethys now. When you stand before him, choose your words carefully.
She claps her gauntleted hands together, and a sound like thunder rumbles through the room. As the floor crumbles and falls away beneath you, you hear the sound of a single bell ringing, and beneath it, the faintest whisper.
keep falling asleep on me, I'm gonna have to start walking behind you with a pillow. Oh, by the way, the storm's gone. Also, I think Aethys has ended the world.
It seems we're all still here.
God's darnation. My head.
And here with me thinking we were right and proper dead this time. We ain't dead, right?
What you people from lush, bright lands fail to grasp is that Rauatai isn't a storm-tossed spit of land. It's the Kith who stand together there. Ukaizo belongs to us. We've earned it with blood and sweat, and no one shall take it from us now. Rauataians, defend Ukaizo!
That's the stuff.
This is futile! Lava beyond
Descend into the ancient winding streets of Ukaizo. Battered by storms for thousands of years, the ruins bear the marks of their role as the lone witnesses of the god's great secret at the center of the city. The houses and boulevards are pierced by great spears of luminous Audra. There are no ashen bodies, no birds, no sign or sound of any life. But with every step, the rhythmic pounding in the distance draws nearer. Soon, you can feel the vibration traveling up your spine. As you approach the center of the city, the weathered architecture gives way to more luminous Audra, piercing the ruins, eventually overtaking them entirely. Cresting the top of a fallen tower, you finally get a clear view of Aethys. He stands, legs astride, next to a great stone monument ringed with 11 cavernous alcoves. All but 3 hold a gargantuan skeleton, bones scrubbed clean by the city's storms. An immense Angwithan machine floats above the monument, suspended by invisible energy emanating from a well of light beneath it. Great brass rings spin around a core of metal and Audra at the machine's center. Periodically, Aethys's massive arms swing back. The movement alone is enough to draw great gusts of wind toward him. When they come down on the machine, the impacts are accompanied by eruptions of electricity, fire, and smoke. The hundreds of luminous Audra pillars across Ukaizo sympathetically dim in a rippling wave that spreads out from the machine. The only safe route to the god is a steep ascent along a monstrous pillar of luminous Audra. Intertwined with fragments of Ukaizo's ruins that it has carried through the centuries, the pillar bends in a long arc, towering above the machine. The pillar levels out near Aethys's head, a silent observer to the destruction of the machine it has grown beside over thousands of years. You weave your way along a treacherous, rain-slicked path up the pillar's skyward side. As you arrive at the top, you catch Aethys's attention. Fist pulled back, he pauses to observe you. With the same gentleness he showed at Ashen Maw, he lowers his arm and turns toward you.
Strange to see Ukaizo in this way. It may be hard to picture, but this city was once full of life. The Huana, yes, but also Kith from many other cultures. Great hanging trees shadowed these boulevards. Gardens sprawled across the open rooftops. Each spring, a festival procession would wind its way from the hillside into this valley. The celebrants would pass through a steep walk among the stalls of foreign merchants, flowers falling upon them from all sides. All people of all nations, together in a celebration of new life. Such was the power and beauty of lost Ukaizo.
If we don't fix this mess you're about to cause, the whole world is gonna look this bad. I mean, it's a mighty heavy load you're putting on our shoulders. I just hope we can carry it.
As long as there are people like you in this world, Adair, I truly do. This power has always been in the grasp of mortals. Now you will finally be aware of it. Now you will be able to decide what to do with it.
Gone, please, I'm begging you. What do I do following this? How am I to best serve those still living? To improve our future chances of survival?
The Deadfire and the Eastern Reach are full of animancers, women and men with brilliant minds who can solve this great problem. They will also need people with brilliant souls, like you, Shodi. People who can tend to the spiritual needs of the world in a time of fear and desperation. Remember, the flame you bear is not only light, but warmth. Provide comfort to all who need it.
I ain't never chatted up a god before. Feel like I should be asking something profound and philosophical. And yet, thing I'd be wanting to know, what be stopping the other gods from coming down and just setting this shit back straight? And then you breaking it again. This be our new tides then, all up and down, over and over, till the sea drowns us all?
A wise question, Seraphim. Have no doubt, some of the gods are already trying to figure out a way to fix this on their own. It is not beyond their capabilities. After all, we made these machines with the Huana many years ago. But it is not something they can do easily. Not without mortal assistance. It will be for mortals to decide if they should receive it.
What right do you have to do this? Destroy the wheel and leave us with nothing? Without even knowing what will come next?
Aloth, we are all gods and mortals, responsible for our own actions. But inaction carries its own moral responsibility. It is a burden I have carried for far too long. One must always do as their conscience dictates, even if that means abdicating a position of power. But what of you, Watcher? Why have you followed me? Have you come to bear witness to the breaking of the wheel?
Truly? Is this what you would do with the power placed in your hands?
No. This is Remergon's doing. You cannot believe this is what is best for us, Watcher. Why would you ask me to do such a thing?
The cycle cannot be denied. Death and decay come for all, whether or not the wheel is broken.
Even if a final death is inevitable, life is still worth living while we have it. No, Watcher. I will not succumb to despair. I will not let you corrupt my purpose for being here.
No, Aethys! Don't listen to him! I still believe in you! You can't give in to this!
Gone, please. Don't cave to the despair the Watcher seeks to smother you with. Death is only half the process. What point is there to Aora if there's no life on it?
Indulge me in a moment's curiosity. There is something I wish to know about Aora, about Kith, that I can only learn through your eyes. You followed me all this way, dodging an armada, navigating an impenetrable wall of storms, voyaging across uncharted seas, with the machinations of gods echoing in your ears, all the while trusting in the institutions of Kith to get you this far, and earning their trust in turn. Whatever else happens this day, that much is remarkable. I believe that mortals possess the strength to collaborate and shape a future of their own design. Not all of my brothers and sisters agree. By relying on others and coming together in a time of crisis, you illustrate my point. The gods will witness you and question their assumptions about how responsible, empathetic, and sophisticated mortals can be. What inspired your decision, Watcher? Did the choice echo your foundational beliefs? Or were you influenced by observation? Boudica has been especially active since the downfall of her favorite operative. Have you ever considered that she is mentoring his replacement? My brothers and sisters never act when the gains are strictly short-term. If Boudica's shadow has fallen upon you, that can only mean she recognizes your potential to further her ambition. I thank you for your perspective. Yours is not the only opinion that concerns me, but for the moment, it offers much to consider. All I ever wanted for mortals was growth, transformation. Once, my brothers and sisters shared this goal. Some have forgotten themselves, giving into fatalism or tyranny. Others have succumbed to apathy. It brings me great sorrow that crisis is the only way to set the future in motion. Would that I could pass the responsibility of heralding your darkest hour to another. Never forget that trust and coordination between mortals brought you to this place. Your future is built on a foundation of hope, and you have laid the first stone. I must attend to my final work now. I cannot delay any longer. You have carried a heavy burden across the Deadfire, Watcher. Before I go, I would rid you of it. You are free now. As free as any of us can be. Many will come to you for help in the years ahead. Animancers, priests, even the gods themselves. I have great hope for you. But always remember that your future is for you to decide. Use your freedom well.
Aethys squares himself to the machine. As you move to a safe distance, he draws his fist back and resumes his assault. The blows rain down with increased fervor, but the machine perseveres in spite of his efforts. Spreading his arms wide, Aethys draws power from the luminous Audra clustered around the valley. The energy courses through his body, limbs overflowing with intense light and waves of heat. He returns to his task, each strike bringing with it the sound of cracking stone and twisting metal, the flickering of luminous Audra across Ukaizo. As the ancient machine finally begins to succumb to his strength, so too does Aethys' body, built to withstand the passage of thousands of years. The great Audra statue has finally been pushed beyond its limits. Cracks appear along the hands, then race up the arms. Aethys does not slow his assault, but continues unabated. Its brass rings twisted. The machine spins erratically but withstands the relentless barrage. Aethys stands astride it and pummels the base of the machine. Soul energy begins to flare out from the machine's heart, warping the air with the intense heat. Aethys drives his right fist into the machine's center, the core of Metal and Audra. The god lets out a deafening shout, something between a cry of anguish and a roar of exultation. You see Aethys' arm shatter upward from his hand through his elbow. A flash of light and heat bursts from the core, accompanied by a cacophony of destruction. The moment passes as Aethys' shout echoes throughout the valley. Your eyes begin to recover. The god's work is accomplished. The great machine of Ukaizo has been destroyed. The wheel has been unmade. As Aethys' voice fades, the enormity of what you've accomplished sinks in. You have confronted a god. You have rediscovered the ancient city where the wheel was forged, and you have seen the wheel shattered. What comes next is uncertain, but already the legend spreads of the Watcher who survived Andra's mortar and stood toe-to-toe with Aethys. Maras Nua's body finally goes still amidst the rubble of the Angwithan machines, yet it continues to glow. Priests and mystics have strange dreams of an island of eternal dawn at the eye of a storm, a port where the tide never flows out, a roadside tavern whose door leads only inward. As a watcher, you see what these dreamers cannot. The souls of the departed drifting toward the Audra Colossus and the twilit afterlife within. Whether it is a temporary haven or a permanent end will depend on what the Kith of Aora are able to accomplish on their own. And while Maras Nua stands frozen over Ukaizo, the gods look on the labors of Kith, but they do not intervene. They watch and argue, wager and conjecture at how or whether mortals will solve the puzzle set before them. After the battle, Aldi sends her fleet from Ukaizo. Her first and last act as Lady of the Ancient City is to reactivate the storms from Andra's spire. Her work done, she departs in the floating hangman. She determines that none shall control the power of Ukaizo. Under her, the Principe shall remain a lawless, rootless pirate band, and Deadfire shall remain free for any with the will to make their way in it. As the rise in piracy makes operations in Deadfire ever more costly, the Consuelo Mea Compressa votes to scale back the Valian Trading Company's presence. Luminous Audra and Animancy Research remain valuable enterprises, but the company can no longer afford to seek dominance in the region. The Royal Deadfire Company makes a final attempt to seize Ukaizo using an innovation of its own. A ship that submerges itself beneath the waves and storms. It is not, however, immune to the magically charged barrels that Aldi's ships drop into the water. After an embarrassing defeat, the Royal Deadfire Company consolidates its forces in the archipelago and limits its ambitions to a handful of well-guarded plantations. The storms of Rawatai rage on, and its people muddle through with the same tenacity that has served them for millennia. Demoralized by the loss of Ukaizo, the Huana tribes fragment further. All of Queen Onikaza's work to unify her people falls apart, and foreign traders openly flout the decrees of the Kahanga crown. Port Maje remains stable despite the changes at work in Deadfire. Governor Clario and Storm Speaker Ikawa work together to shore up their defenses against the Principe and to petition the Valian Trading Company for additional funding. Thanks to their joint efforts, Port Maje becomes a bastion of security and prosperity in the southern archipelago. As the balance of power changes in Deadfire, so too does Nekataka transform. Pirates, smugglers, and other criminals flow into the city, openly flouting its laws. The pirates continue smuggling food into the gullet, and the Raparu embrace their benefactors, aiding and concealing their smuggling operations. Over time, the gullet becomes a hotbed of piracy. With Skiarelaphus' essence still empowering the Water Shapers Guild, the practice of water shaping grows and flourishes in Neketaka, and its practitioners rise in prestige. They install conveyors in the falls that run through the city and craft sculptures for every street and plaza. Thus, the Water Shapers Guild becomes a power in its own right in the city of Neketaka. Your brief encounter with Letharn proves deeply influential for the children of the Dawnstars. Plagued with nightmares and haunted by the deaths at Hesango, Letharn begins questioning his faith in Aethys. At first, his fellow Dawnstars chide him, but that changes as word of Aethys' deeds at Ukaizo spreads. After all, what business have they worshipping a god who denied his own legitimacy? The children of the Dawnstars respond to Aethys' sacrifice by taking up the lanterns and sickles of the Harvesters of God. They become pilgrims of essence, gathering souls across Sayora and ferrying them to the edge of Andra's mortar, that they might find their way to the haven within the Adra Colossus. Others will repair or rebuild the wheel one day. In the meantime, the Dawnstars will care for the souls of the dead. The Adra at Pokakohara is restored, but the rumored Valian Trading Company post never comes to Tikawara. Torn between waiting and seeking better fortunes elsewhere, the tribe gradually scatters and fragments. The Dead Flow, an iceberg in the southern sea, continues to grow unchecked. As the ice spreads, so too do wild tales of a hideous dragon rampaging across the Deadfire. Word spreads of the primal island of Kazuwari, once home to an arena that hosted bloody competitions and fearsome ordeals. Wild tales whisper that the spilled blood attracted a terrible beast of scale and fang that slaughtered those gathered at the island before destroying the great enchanted statue that oversaw the island's trials. Absent its guiding voice, Kazuwari descends into anarchy. A vast monstrosity of tentacles and flesh erupts from the Black Isles in the eastern Deadfire, before vanishing into the depths. None know what drives the titanic beast, nor where it will appear next, or what destruction it might wreak when it rises. Though your adventures alter the destiny of Aora and the balance of power in Deadfire, they also leave a lasting mark on those who travel at your side. Your companions find themselves changed, in ways both big and small. Adair returns to Hesango, where he reunites with Byrne, the son of his former lover, Alava. The boy takes heart in Adair's account that Aethys and all the other gods were false, petty, and unworthy of the love of Kith. Realizing how close he came to dying for this cause, Byrne finds renewed purpose in working alongside his uncle to repair the many scars left upon Deadfire by the gods. Under Adair's guidance, Byrne grows into the kind of irreverent, stubborn hothead that would have made his mother proud. And Adair visits her gravesite, often to tell her so. Shodi is not a priestess who understands the meaning of subtlety. As such, she makes her girlish crush on Adair painfully obvious from the moment she first sets eyes on the strapping fighter. Early in your travels, Adair appears discomforted by her persistent flirting. He often grimaces when she sidles up to him, and he takes endless pains to keep their conversations terse and to the point. But after a little smoothing on your part to nudge them in the right direction, Adair makes an effort to view Shodi with an open mind. And Shodi begins teasing the veteran fighter in a more companionable and less amorous manner. After saving each other's hides a couple times and sharing more than a few laughs, the two form an easy, and you suspect, lifelong friendship. Seemingly lit with an inner glow, Shodi takes to a new life of mission work with gusto. She still is committed to shepherding souls forgone, but having realigned her goals with that of her fellow Dawnstars, she now endeavors to help the living as much as the dead. As you travel the Deadfire, you find her sleeping better and laughing more often. When the time comes for her to return to her temple in Neketaka, it's with a clear wistfulness and much lip-biting on her part. She leaves you with her sickle and a hastily scrawled note. It reads, "A keepsake from a path once walked. Remember me, Watcher, for I will forever dream of you." Aloth renews his commitment to destroying the Leaden Key. With the wheel broken, loosening the god's stranglehold on Kith is more urgent than ever. It is a lofty goal, and one he does not expect to finish in his lifetime. But if there's one thing he's learned from the Watcher, it's that a single person can change the world. You let Romaro go, and the former pirate ostensibly set sail for the trade lanes of the Eastern Reach, the Edir Empire, Old Valia, and the Republics. For the remainder of your time together, Seraphon seems, if not exactly happy, at least contented with the outcome of your confrontation with his former mentor at Sayuka. And yet, when the two of you part, Seraphon seems emboldened, invigorated by a new sense of purpose. He buys you a drink, toasts to the Deadfire, says, "Let's see if we can make something worth a shit out of what's left of these Principe swabs," and sets sail the next morning. In the years to follow, rumors occasionally reach you of the Blue Orlan pirate of the Deadfire, a privateer captain as keen to free slaves or fight for an influence as he is to plunder and pillage. After reporting back to her superiors for the Watcher's actions against the Valian Trading Company, Palagina is rewarded with reassignment home to the Valian Republics. She spends the next several years as the head of the household guard for the Duke of Ancense. In this role, she is often lauded for her courage and loyalty. Even with all of the praise, there's still times when she cannot help but feel she could have had more influence on what transpired in the Deadfire. Pleased with the Navy's conduct throughout the Deadfire campaign, Maya returns to active duty. She can find a free drink and a sharp salute anywhere she goes in Rawatayan territory. In recognition of her performance, the Navy attempts to give Maya less strenuous work. She flatly refuses, throwing herself into the fray whenever she can. Her rifle never has time to cool. She looks forward to seeing her brother again. So does Ashiza. Takehu distances himself from the problems of the Deadfire, giving the tribes a reprieve from godlike omens. And Gati's silence speaks volumes. The Huana grow to rely on each other, paving a new way forward divorced from their traditions. Soon after he departs Neketaka, distant tribes report of unusual and salacious water sculptures appearing on the shores. These quaint visitations are widely celebrated, the identity of the artist ever an open question. He bids you farewell, suggesting that you seek your next adventure in a brothel or tavern where consequences begin and end at the front door. He sounds eager to leave old conflicts in the past. Great changes are at work in Deadfire and the world beyond, but the storms of Andra's mortar rage on. Whatever salvation Kith achieve will be hard-won, but it will be the deliverance of their own choosing. As the Watcher of Cadnua and the former Herald of Bareth, you return to your ship and begin the long journey home. You hope for calm weather.